Okay, this is the Arts and Craftsmen Guild meeting, and we're talking today to juried artist Bradley Widman. He's a oil on canvas painter and also an author. Bradley, did you want to share anything before we play the video that we recorded before?
No, I don't think so. I think we should just play it, and I can answer any questions the best of my ability. When questions arise, just ask.
Okay. Great. I am going to get that video then, and we'll get started.
Okay.
Hi friends, this is Cheryl Belzak, and I'm here today with Arts and Craftsmen Guild juried artist Bradley Widman, and he's also an author. We're in his workspace and studio. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the invite.
Thank you, you're welcome.
So I know that you work every day.
Yes.
And weekends too, correct?
7 days a week.
7 days a week, and you have a very intentional practice. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes. It's a very monastic lifestyle. I get up very early in the morning. I'm up at 4, and I try to be in the studio no later than 5:30. And I work about 8 or 9, maybe 10 hours a day. And then when I'm finished painting, I try to sit down for about 45 minutes to an hour, and I write. When you're painting so much, and you're alone, of course, there's a lot of room to think. So I gather all my sentiments and try to do something with them, which turns out to be in book form.
And your writing is directly related to the painting you've done in the day?
Yes,
usually?
they're very correlated. Yes, everything is in a neat little kind of package.
Great. And you have 2 books already.
Yes, we've published 2 books with Whitebird Publishing out of Texas.
Great.
And I work with a photographer, an editor, and the publisher. So when I get enough material together, painting and writing, I have my photographer take photos, and then I do the outlay for the book, and then I send it to the editor, her name is Jessica Marabella.
Okay.
She's in California, and she edits it. She's fantastic, because she was very implementive in me getting published.
Oh.
She did a lot of work to help me get published. So she's fantastic. I wouldn't be able to do half of what I do without her. So
it's great to have someone in your corner like that can help you.
Very much so.
Pull.
And so she does her work, and then she sends it to Whitebird Publishing, and they publish it. So everyone works together. It's like a well-oiled machine.
Yes. I found it very fascinating how you told me about the binders you put together.
Yes.
Once you have all the different pieces.
Yeah, the outlay. So it's very old-fashioned, it's very simple, but it really works. Sometimes the most simple things are the better way to go at times. Mm-hmm. When I get the photographs and the writings together, I do an outlay and I put them in the binders, and that's the beginning. You create a prototype,
right? And
you try to stick to certain ideas and objectives, and it works. And you're working on more books.
right now. Do you want to talk about those?
Sure.
Okay.
I have a contract with Whitebird, so I'll be doing several books.
That's great.
The third one is first. There's the Monastic Overture, which was just published in January, and the one before that was called The Solitary Seed, and that is about its aesthetic theory overlaid with kind of a poetic format. So it's an aesthetic theory in poetry, written in poetry form. And the paintings are the first one. There's about 50 paintings. The second book, the Monastic Overture, there's about 72.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a lot of work.
And most of the paintings are very large. This is a recent painting.
Yes, this is called Redemption, and it's about a 7-foot tall painting.
Wow.
It's part of a triptych that I'm working on. So each of the panels will be 7 feet by approximately, I think it's 55 inches wide.
That's going to be a very large piece.
Yes, yes. And I enjoy working large. It's a challenge, and I just enjoy it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I would paint on bed sheets.
Wow.
And so working large has always been kind of very natural for me. A lot of artists get very intimidated by a large canvas, but I just love it.
Oh.
You know, I like it because when you're painting and your peripheral vision on either side of you is kind of blocked off because of the massiveness of the piece.
Okay.
You're kind of enveloped in all of these beautiful colors.
That's true.
And the
I didn't
shapes.
think about that process.
Yeah. So
interesting.
It's interesting. Of course, smaller paintings, I do those as well.
Yes.
And they're a little more intimate creatively. The process is a little different.
Do you have other paintings around to kind of immerse yourself when you're working on a smaller piece? Or is that
no, it's just part of
distracting?
It doesn't distract me at all, really.
Okay.
The creative process is overwhelming.
You seem very focused.
Yes, extremely. Extremely. I've been painting since I was about 10 years old.
That's amazing.
And that's about it, really, on that.
And you say you don't have creative blocks at all, which I find
Not
fascinating.
I was telling you earlier.
Great way to explain this.
It's like a broken faucet, and it does not turn off. And there's a lot of ideas that I'd like to do, projects that I'm not able to do right now because of the space. I just am running out of space. And the projects similar to this one here, the triptych, it's disconcerting because you want to do all these beautiful paintings and things like that, but you just don't have the space.
Okay.
So
you need some support with the space.
I could use it. Yeah.
You have a lot of paintings here. Do you have any general idea how many
paintings?
Yeah.
Oh, there's hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see not only how much work you have, but how it all goes together very seamlessly.
It all connects.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very it flows quite a bit. There's a lot of patterns and geometric shapes and symbols. There's a little ornamentation in everything that I do. I was very influenced by Klimt and Sheila and members of the Vienna Secession. I have a little story to tell you if you'd like.
I would love to hear.
Okay. I was 15 years old, It was back in 1985.
Okay.
I guess I'm dating myself.
We all do it sometimes.
That's okay. So I went to a doctor in New York City who was a dyslexia specialist.
Okay.
I suffered from dyslexia at the time
Okay.
and also horrible depression.
Hmm.
I painted back then as well. I started I told you, about 10 years old.
Yeah.
So I was 15. We went to New York City and we went to the Museum of Modern Art. And there was an exhibition there called the Vienna 1900 Show.
Okay.
And it was all Klimt and Sheila, of course, and all the Vienna Secession artists, Kolom and Moser, and Loos, and Joseph Hoffman, all the Austrian artists. And I had an experience that was life-changing.
Oh.
It was, the way that I always describe it, it was like a nervous breakdown, falling in love, and deja vu at the same time.
That sounds very, very intense.
Well, it was intense. For a 15-year-old, I saw the paintings and the furniture and things like that were in the exhibition. It was just overwhelming. And it changed my entire life. I was painting before then, but it was very, in a similar way. My paintings were kind of similar to what they were doing.
Okay.
And I realized that, and I'm thinking to myself, this is like finding like an old friend that you've never met before.
Wow.
And I don't even think I could have pointed to you on Vienna on a map.
Wow.
And so
It just felt right, though.
it was unbelievable.
Wow.
So I took all the money I had with me, spending money. I think it was about $100, $150. And I bought a bunch of books at the bookstore.
Oh.
And I studied those paintings till today.
Wow.
I still have them, actually.
Wow.
And
that's nice and dog-eared.
Yeah. And then I taught myself how to paint like that.
Wow.
And I'm self-taught. I haven't had any lessons. In school, I had a few art lessons, but nothing formal. So
more high school level or college level? Or?
I didn't go to college.
Okay.
I decided I knew what I wanted, and I wanted to educate myself in the way that I wanted to be educated. And you put all your eggs in one basket, of course, but sometimes you have no choice.
Yeah.
Because there's so much inspiration and ideas to work with. So I just keep going.
And your books are meant to encourage other artists. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah? They're made for spiritually inclined artists. It's not for everybody. A lot of people don't get them. They're aesthetic theory wrapped up in poetry, which is very it's different. Some people find it hard to handle. Edelweiss
is saying hello from upstairs.
A lot of people don't get it. It's not an easy read for people. It takes a little bit of maintenance when you're reading, because you have to kind of put the book down and contemplate what you just read. And the solitary seed is, every time that you're reading, you put the book down, you're kind of admitting these seeds of wisdom and information and knowledge inside, and it changes your consciousness, I think.
Wow.
And it makes you think more about God and the creative process and the sacred relationship that artists have with with all of that.
It's very powerful.
It can be. It's overwhelming for some people.
I imagine.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to reading it.
Okay. They're available at Barnes and Noble
Perfect.
and on Amazon, and bookstores all over the place.
And can you give us the titles again of the two that are up?
Of course, The Solitary Seed
Mm-hmm.
and the Monastic Overture. And there's a third one in the works. I'm not going to talk too much about that
Perfect.
because I haven't even told my editor or my publisher about it.
Awesome.
So it'll be coming, hopefully I'll be done before maybe the end of this year.
Okay.
And we'll see what.
And that's a lot of work because how many paintings will there be in there?
Peter's Dream would be close to 50.
Okay.
So,
And each of the paintings can take a couple of weeks, correct?
Yes, they can.
So
yeah,
that's a lot of work that
it's a lot of work. Yes.
Yeah. But you have a very strong vision for it already. So
Yeah, I do.
that's great. And I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you.
And you will let us know in the Arts and Craftsmen Guild definitely when that comes out as well.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that.
Okay.
Do you have anything else that you would like to share with us today? I took some detailed photos of different paintings that are around the house, and I will share some of those as well.
Okay.
Is there anything else you would like to share?
I don't think so.
I feel like we've had so many great conversations.
Well, we were talking so much earlier.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what I could.
I'm coming up a blank too.
Sorry. I have a great love for antique toys.
Yes.
When I was a child and I played with toys, I had a very closeness to God, because we're playing with toys, you have to be very creative, and you come up with all these scenarios, and it seemed to kind of blend into everything that I've done. It's a creative process, and things like the bicycles, high wheel bicycles, I do life size.
Wow.
Penny farthings, and they're kind of a form of poetic kinetics.
True.
Yeah. It's and the toys are usually they're older German toys. I like German-centric things.
Okay.
So they all have their own personalities. The antique toys are like mathematics. It's just endless.
Yeah.
And all the combinations you can come up with, putting toys together.
You're creating stories again.
Yeah, you're creating stories. Like this picture here, it's called the Sacred Rocking Horse.
Should we turn so we can
Sure.
see it?
It's a 5 foot by 5 foot canvas, and it's called the Sacred Rocking Horse. It's about motion, and once again about kinetic energy. It's somewhat of a self-portrait. It's very arts and crafts style, of course.
Yes.
I'm very influenced by that.
Absolutely. And so the antique toys are a theme. You have a lot of women figures in your...
Yes, I do a lot of portraits of women.
You told me you named them all too.
Yes, they all have their names.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was when I became so influenced by Klimt's work, I studied it so much for all these years, and you have to be careful what you study from such an early age, because it really grows on you, and a part of them kind of becomes a part of you in a way. Not in an arrogant way, of course, but there's similarities.
There's influences.
There's influences, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But you also identify with what you like.
yeah.
What
So
speaks to you in
being
some
so
way.
young and you emulate all these artists, but then you grow up and you live your own life and you have your own experiences, and it shapes what you do.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, there's always those influences. So I do a lot of there's ornamentation in everything that I do, and it's just kind of a remnant of those experiences that I had in the past that were so influencing.
And there's a lot of layers and symbolism too.
Oh
correct?
yeah, all geometrics and patterns and things like that. Uh, it, it is like a broken faucet, and I have this almost an obsession with geometry. And when I get ideas for paintings, it comes all at once.
Okay.
And very often I have to scramble for paper and pen and just jot things down.
Okay.
Because it's overwhelming.
You sketch it out so that it's not here.
Yeah, just so I know it's down and it's safe and.
Yes.
I
understand that.
Yeah.
That you told me about was the eyes.
Yes, the eyes. They follow you.
Yeah. They do.
I've had paintings in galleries, and a lot of the people say, well, they're a little different because they follow me around the room. But that's something, I mean, if you can connect with a painting, I think the eyes are the first thing that you really associate with.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what draws you in. And
it does, yeah.
And if it stays with you, that's extra engaging.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having us here today.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a poetic way of saying that God speaks to us through the arts. Not so much in everyday life sometimes, but in the through creativity and beauty and truth. God speaks to us.
That's beautiful. We have another piece that I will show. Maybe. There we go. And this is the owl with the bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything you can tell us about that? I know recurring themes are anthropomorphic animals and specifically birds for you.
Yes, birds and deer. I like bicycles quite a bit. They're, like I said earlier, they're kind of a form of poetic kinetics. And I like motion very much. I think that as children, when we're very young, we learn a lot through motion, through toys that move or things like that. It just seems to be a part of our learning process. Motion is just something that we deal with every day. It's just kind of fascinating to me. Just kind of hard to explain, but it's taking different objects like owls or bicycles or deer and placing them together in paintings, and you make up all of these allegories and symbolism through them, and it's just fascinating. You change people's minds, you make people think, and it's a lot like frozen music. Someone once said, there's a lot of paintings. Paintings are like music. How do you explain that? Some paintings you could say would be like symphonies, and other paintings would be like divertimentos or chamber music. Some paintings, like symphonic pieces, would be enormous, gut-wrenching artwork. But there's smaller paintings, which could be like a little more intimate, like chamber music. It's just, I like music quite a bit. So
do you listen to music when you paint?
I do. I'm a big classical music fan. I listen to Schubert quite a bit, and Haydn and Mozart and Beethoven, and pretty much just about all of them.
And I've switched the piece of art that we're looking at now. We have the 3-panel that you also bring to shows with you.
Oh, the room divider, yeah.
Yes, yes.
I like adding the room dividers. I do make custom room dividers for people. I like bringing them to exhibitions. It creates kind of a museum setting. Like if you go into the core gallery and you see some of the printing presses and the chairs and things of that nature. And when you add it in with the paintings, it creates just a different atmosphere.
I agree. And I have the most of the panel and also the detail of the face, so we can kind of get a sense of those eyes and how they can follow us.
Yeah, they are a little different. I've had gallery owners say, well, we like your paintings, but the people, the eyes do follow them around a little bit. And some people are a little hesitant about that.
Yeah,
but I think that's wonderful because, you want to have that connection. And for a lot of painters, the people, their work is kind of stagnant, or people just kind of get lost and they don't notice it. But I like to have a rapport with people through my paintings. And that's when people learn, about the allegory and the symbolism and all the stories that go with them. And you're just kind of infusing your own thoughts into their minds. And that's really what a conversation is all about. And painting is it's a rapport with your audience.
Yeah, I see that.
So, I mean, as an artist, there's a great responsibility because you really, truly do influence your audience. With me, I'm a painter that writes, not a writer that paints. But there's things you can say in painting that you can't say in writing, and things in writing that you can't say in painting. So I'm kind of compelled to do both. I have an awful lot of information inside of me, and I like to, I have to get rid of it. I have to purge it. It used to be, when you're younger and you're writing in your journal, and then you put on the nightstand, and then it just kind of stays there. But now that things are being published, your ideas are, you're more aware of what you're writing because things do end up in book form. So you have that responsibility to helping people learn and grow as people, and especially other artists. God has been very good to me creatively. He's given me a very fertile mind, and you want to give that back. Everything returns to where it started from. And it's, once again, I'll just say it's that rapport with your fellow man and with God. And there's a responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's, it's, some people look to art to reaffirm a sense of a known reality, while others seek it to teach and demonstrate the unknown.
And we're actually, we're looking at your tree of life image right now. And can you tell us?
It's a tree. And if you notice on the top portion on either side of it, on the left and right, there's little berries. and that is the fruit of the tree. And they're collected in the bins.
Oh. I know you say you always have symbolism layered in, so it's interesting to hear you talk about it here.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So I've now pulled up, I believe this is a detail with the bunny.
Okay, yep. The pull toy,
Yes.
the rabbit pull toy. That's a series of pull toys that I did. There's ducks and sheep, and what else is there? There's rabbits and elephants. It's a whole series. In the series, there's about 6 or 8 of them, and they're smaller pictures. I think they're about 2 feet by 2 feet, but they're intimate pictures. The smaller ones are they're much different than larger pictures.
Okay.
Not just size, of course, but the creative process. It seems like when I'm working with larger paintings, the process is different. With smaller paintings, I get more attention to detail, it seems. But with the larger ones, because you have so much space to cover, the geometric shapes seem to get even larger.
Okay. And in here, like I said, this almost seemed like a detail, but this is the complete painting.
Yes, yeah.
Great.
And
I also
people
wanted
really
to
seem to
show
like
this.
them.
Yeah. I also wanted to show this because your stamp is very visible on here. And I know you have an interesting process
Oh,
with
yes,
that as
my
well.
signet.
Yes.
Yes. Well, what I do is when I start a painting, I usually work on the face first. And then when I'm done with that, then I put my signature on, and then I create the rest of the canvas. It reminds me to keep higher standards, and it's really not just meant for myself, just to remind myself of that.
Yeah, I like that. And it's very
Bradley,
different.
it's Vicki. Do you work in like thematic series, or do you find yourself jumping all over the place? How does your mind work that way?
That's a good question. No, everything is very, very focused. It's very spiritual. It's very philosophical. There's just so much to work with. There's so many images, and so many things in life just speak to me. All I can say is, again, it's just a rapport. It's a conversation with the universe. And painting it's like a language. The image is like a nonverbal language. But with the writing, of course, writing comes very easily for me. There's little maintenance in the writing, but with painting, it takes time. You have to stretch canvas and prime it and make frames and do research, and it takes weeks and weeks. But with writing, it just flows right out, and it's almost too easy. So I am a writer, but I consider myself more of a painter, because it just takes so much energy and work. But the writing it flows right out. It's almost like some people have considered it to be automatic writing, which for some people, they say it's kind of a spiritual thing, but perhaps it could be. The work itself is spiritual, but it's just, it's like purging all of these ideas out that you have. When you're painting, there's a lot of time to think. You're in the basement for 6, 7, 8, 9 hours a day, and it's just an enormous flood of ideas that come. So I try to sit down afterwards and write. Try to get out of what I was thinking for the rest of the day.
Excuse me, Bradley. Do you make your own paint?
Do I? Oh, no, I don't make my own paint. No, I buy from an art store.
But you do use a very limited palette that we haven't really talked about that.
Yes, I do. Well, the limited palette for me is it's a monastic theory. Someone once said that, I think it was an architect, that less is more. And with a limited palette, you're only using certain colors, but the colors that you do get out of the limited colors mean so much more because you're dealing with the different variations of the tones. So if the one book, the Monastic Overture, is based on that principle that less is more, and it's an interesting read.
Yes. And I've switched our the image we're looking at again, and we're looking at Encounter.
Oh, Encounter, yes. That's it's a monk with a stick horse. And I do a lot of pictures of the antique toys with the monks, and they're interacting with them. Encounter, it was a few years back, and it is about just a monk encountering a stick horse.
He looks very thoughtful.
Yes, yes.
In the image. And now I'm showing the slide where we're showing one of your exhibits, it looks like.
Yes, that was at John Severell's gallery in Clarence called the Museum of European Art. And we had a show there back in 2015, and that is the exhibition that was there.
You have a very strong presence in that, I see.
Yes, yes. It was my first one-man show.
Oh, wow. I guess I didn't, I saw a sculpture there, so I didn't think it was.
Well, he did leave a few of the gallery's everyday work up.
Okay.
So some of the things were kind of peppered in between and everything. But there were 40 paintings there. Wow. Of mine. Yes, he's a good friend of mine.
That makes a big impression.
Yeah, thank you.
Bradley, how do you think your work has changed over the years?
Gradually, it gets better with age. That's why I asked you, Vicki, if your work evolves. Like mine, it stays the same, but it changes. The colors change, and like I said earlier, never say never, because sometimes I used to say I would never work with pastels or like even round shapes, but you never know what's going to come up, and the influences that they have, and what doors that things can open. I mean, even simple things like colors that you think you would never use. It can change a lot of different things.
The word better is so amorphous to me. In your mind, what makes it better today than it was 10 years ago, for example?
Oh, okay, good question. Well, it gets easier for me. You learn a lot about yourself when you're working, because you do have a lot of time to sit and think, and it's like holding a mirror up to yourself, or looking at yourself in a mirror, and you see yourself and your ideas, and when you look at yourself like painting gives you kind of like a bird's eye view of your consciousness, and you just realize who you are, and you see your gifts and what you're able to do, and what you're able to create and help people actually become better people, through your work and to, writing or painting. And it's a reflective image. And, you do have to be careful of the images that you present to people, because it changes them.
It's a really interesting perspective.
I have a question.
Yes.
It seems like you do all of your painting in your basement.
I do.
If you had a place, if you had another place to go, would you paint there? Or
I would. Well, I prefer to paint at home, because sometimes you just want to, go down and put a coat of primer on a canvas and then come right back up. And then, also when you're spending that much time, you just kind of want to be closer to home. But I am looking for a new studio. Financially, things are difficult, of course, especially right now in the pandemic. I don't know anyone who's not having difficulty. But yeah, I am looking for a studio. There's a lot of ideas that I have that would, for paintings that would be, 8 and 10 feet in size. Right now, I get about I can do about 7 foot tall paintings, but I can't get them very much wider because you don't want to cramp the form. Right now, I can fit about a good 5 to 6 figures on a canvas, but I'd like to do other pictures that would be like dozens and dozens of figures.
just so you know,
Yes.
and everyone else that's on the Zoom meeting, in the near future, Dart Hunter Hall, which is that big large room on the second floor of the print shop on the Roycroft campus, will be that will eventually be turned into artist space where an artist can go and work. And
Really?
yes, and it's going to be a multifunctional space where an artist can also plan your own exhibition. There will be storage lockers where you can keep your materials. There's going to be movable walls to change the space configuration.
Right.
The whole room or part of the space.
That sounds nice.
So just to let you know, that could be beneficial for somebody like yourself in the future.
Wow, that sounds good. Yes, we'll have to talk more about that.
Yep.
I'm very hungry for another show.
Which could also happen in that space too.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds good. Well, yeah.
So I have a totally different kind of question.
Yes.
I know you do a lot of human forms and a lot of animal forms, but inside of those forms are geometric shapes. And
yes, I love geometry.
You wouldn't think that it would work out, but it's beautiful. And so I'm just kind of wondering how it developed that, instead of painting, like in a classic way where you paint a face like a face, you have it broken down a little bit differently. So can you talk about sort of how that developed and how you got to that place?
Absolutely. My paintings, like you said, are all made out of line and geometric shapes. The paintings, they're almost like a contour line in the faces, and it mimics the shapes in the background or the foreground or the garments. It's all geometrically adorned, and it's like a parallel between the blocks that are created in the flesh and the blocks that are blocks, I guess you could call them, or geometric shapes that are in the background.
Thank you. And I have one other question that I'm actually just a little curious about, I've heard, I've heard you say, and some other people have said that some of your work sort of has a little bit of an eerie feel to it. And I'm wondering if,
Yes.
I can tell that you're aware of that, but I'm wondering, is it intentional or is it just kind of the perception of the viewer?
Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me. It's very different. Well, I've had people come up to me and say, well, your work is extremely creepy. And they've said it right to my face.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, oh yeah, it happens. I've gone to exhibitions and people would come up to me and they would start yelling at me. And like one guy came up to me and said, what do you call this, a limited palette or what? And he was just so angry. And it makes you realize that, you know, you really do influence people.
You've evoked emotion, definitely.
Well, yeah. But, you know, you want that. You want people to have emotion and to be touched, you know. But
That's
as
true.
for things to be a little different, well, perhaps they are. My ideas are they're expansive and they're very spiritual, but it's not dark at all to me. It's quite beautiful.
And I also now have your books up here showing.
Okay.
So these are,
yes, the Solitary Seed and the Monastic Overture.
Can we buy the books at the Roycroft campus in addition to?
No, not yet. I haven't even considered that yet, but they are available at Barnes & Noble and on Amazon. And if you go on the computer and you type it in, you know, the titles, it'll come up all the books, the online bookstores around the world. Actually, they're in Norway, and there's an English bookstore called Waterstones, which is like the English version of Barnes & Noble, and they're there. And they're, let's see, France and Germany, but they are in English. We haven't done a foreign language yet, but they are available in the English version. This is kind of interesting. I was looking the other day. I Google my name occasionally and just see what comes up. And sometimes you find different things that people are saying, or, you know, reviews on books and things like that. And I'm looking through a bookstore, and I'm looking at Klimt and Sheila books and things like, you know, people that I emulated when I was growing up. And I'm looking at the bookstore, you know, going through the books online, and I look, and you know what? There's one of my books. And I'm like, good Lord. And it was a good feeling.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
you're being surrounded by all the people that you were influenced by.
That has to be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it was an amazing feeling. So
thank you so much for all you've shared this
well, that's
evening.
okay.
And does anyone else?
I'm very sorry. I'm a little nervous today.
Well,
About what?
We're not as mean as we seem.
I know that, but I've never done this before, so I'm a little, you know, whatever.
I understand.
You've been around us before, Bradley.
You did great. You did
well,
great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We really appreciate you sharing yourself.
Thank you. I promise next time I'll be a little more prepared.
You sound
you're plenty prepared.
All right. Well, thank you.
Have you considered, or do you have, or are you interested in having, how's that for a multi-part question, an agent for your work, or somebody to, because
yes, I would be open to that. Anything that I can do to get more marketing accomplished would be, anything like that would be great.
But you're not actively seeking, you're not actively seeking that.
No, not at the moment. I am thinking about grants. Things like that. It's something that I'd like to pursue more. I was thinking maybe I was talking to my father about it, and he said, well, you know, what would you do if you did get a grant? And I said, well, to be honest with you, in an ideal situation, I would try to find a different studio to work in, because that is right now, that's my most major thing that I'm worried about, because there are so many ideas that you want to work with. And to me, cramping the form is a tragedy, you know, where you have to push so many images on the canvas. You know, you want more space and to you know, to paint in, and not just to paint in, but more space on the canvases to add more figures. So, but yeah, but anyways, he was saying, what would you do with it? So I'd get another studio, but then he said, well, what if you had a larger place than that, and you could rent out space to other artists? And it didn't occur to me. I'm like, geez, that might be interesting, because you could have a little bit of an income coming in then. But I would be extremely discerning who I would let in. And I would try to, I would create like another secession, I think, like the Viennese secession. I think that'd be very interesting, which would be like another guild.
Are you talking about leaving us, Bradley?
No, not at all. No,
Okay.
not at all. But
Just
but
thought I'd
I'm
check.
very interested
Expanding.
in I'm very interested in art as a brotherhood. You know, sort of like the pre-Raphaelites. People with like-minded ideas coming together in a creative setting. To me, it doesn't get any better than that. And when I was a kid and I learned about the Vienna secession, it was just mind-opening. And I thought, geez, there really are other people out there that are similar. Because, you know, you're growing up and you're doing your own thing, and you kind of go to your own drummer, and then you wake up one day and you realize there's other people out there that have similar ideas. So with writing, you know, you're trying to connect with those people, and the writings they're not for everybody. They're really meant for other spiritually inclined artists, and it creates that rapport, and once again, it's a conversation, and that's all life really is just one huge conversation between yourself and God and what you create. And you know, our being creative is an inheritance from God. It's a remnant of what made Him create the universe, and it is it's our birthright. And you know, people say, well, we are made in God's image, but it's not so much like an image like, well, I have a big nose, so God must have a big nose, right? It's not that at all. It's our creativity and our intelligence, our moral character. It's our willingness to be human, and to love your fellow man, and to create, and to glorify God in the highest, to your highest ability.
It's very inspiring. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? I know we've had some great questions. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time, Bradley, and we appreciate you sharing all of your work.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's time tonight.
Thank you very much. You gave me a lot to think about.
Did I really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, you know, I'm not trying to sell books or anything, but you should take a look. You might, you might find some interesting things to think about.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
Always wonderful to see you and hear you, Bradley. It's Vicki.
Well,
Thanks
thank you very
again.
much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Will you sign our books once we get them?
I certainly will.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Next meeting, I promise.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And Cheryl, thank you for everything you've done too. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
she's been a huge help today. I appreciate it.
Nice job, Cheryl.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yes, nice job. Yeah, nice
Beautiful
job.
job. Thank you.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing everybody soon, I hope.
I hope so too.
Yes, we hope so.
I know,
too.
because this is for the birds, the computer.
Yeah, I know.
It's not
More ways
easy,
than
but
one.
you know, what are you gonna do?
Right. Thank
A
you.
lot shorter trip though, Bradley.
Yes, I know. Well, I'm out in Amherst, so it's a hike. But I would like to extend an invitation to anybody who would like a studio visit. You're more than
Oh.
welcome to come. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So just give me a call and let me know a couple days ahead,
Okay.
and I'll have things ready. If pastries and coffee, and we can sit and talk.
That would be exciting.
That would
Yeah,
It's wonderful.
that's okay. Anytime, and whenever you like.
be. Okay.
Just not 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, no, that turned into a habit, and it's really become a staple in my what I do every day. I like to get up early, and I say a couple of rosaries, and I have some coffee, and then I get on the computer, and I'm in the studio by 5:30, and I've been doing that so long. It's just very normal for me now.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
No, that's okay. Well, thank you for everyone's time.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Have a
Very
great
much
night.
appreciated.
Thank you. Thanks, Cheryl.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you,
Mhm.
Bradley.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.